So looks like Tiny transferring a few more of his SCVs to the new expansion. Vulture is marauding around in the middle of the map, trying to scout out and see what the army movement is like. Tempest, yeah, he's got 2 armies moving around in the middle of the map, trying to get himself into a good position. If Tiny should foolishly choose to move out to the middle, for instance, he would be in prime position to do some sort of flank. But Tiny is content to defend. For now, Arbiter Tribunal just going down, so the usual tech is coming out. So I'm not sure what Tempest is going to do in terms of his arbiters. I think, for instance, recalling on top of this inside bottom right base would be a mistake. Sure, you could kill the command center, but then your units will be trapped up there and get obliterated by siege tanks. I think recalling to the main would be a superior choice. At least you could pick off a good number of buildings, especially critical tech buildings like armories, and that would be pretty nice. Tempest putting down yet another expansion. It looks like these vultures are going to catch the probes in motion though, and there's going to be a lot of dead probes here. He's got 2 cannons there, another one going up, but it's not going to be able to defend against these vultures if they go in. The vultures, though, are going to mine up the top. They're not really going for the probes yet with 2 tanks there. He's going to try to engage Tempest's army. I'm not sure if he should do this. I think he should run the vultures in to kill the probes and leave these tanks here to do the delaying action. But Tiny, I think, is really missing an opportunity here. Killing a few dragoons here and there, you know, not really the biggest victory. But he could have easily ran in with those vultures and killed every single one of the probes at the expansion. It looks like some more vultures for Tiny, trying to pick a bit here, probe defenses at the natural, but it's not going to do much. There are a lot of zealots there. I guess he's hoping just to do some damage to the zealots, with the mines being dragged into the zealots, pretty damaging, but with the dragoons coming down, the vultures are forced to retreat. At the same time, Tiny is responding by putting down an expansion at the 3 o'clock base. So both sides are really going hardcore macro. I mean, there's some harassing, but it's not the sort of constant action, relentless type of harass that you might see some of the best players who are capable of doing. Like, there's just a few sporadic engagements on the field and nothing really decisive occurring just yet. A few turrets being put down here by Tiny. I think he should get a glyph or 2 and scan to kill the observers. On the other hand, another good way of killing observers is to let your opponent fly them into turrets. Although that is more of a passive response, you can't rely on that to truly be effective. 3 forges down for Tempest. I like that. You know, he's gonna go hardcore every single ground upgrade. And I think that is important. Too often the Protoss just go for the weapons upgrade, and you know that's probably the most cost effective, because with tank weapons upgrade that ignores a good deal of the armor upgrades. But Terran army and vulture mines too. But Terran armies have, you know, Goliaths, and they have vultures especially. You can mitigate damage from that. So I think certainly it's worth it to do, especially considering this is going to be one of those long macro games. You know, 5 bases now for Tempest. He's putting a 6th one at the 12 o'clock position. So what's a few hundred resources to get all your upgrades done ASAP? No, it's not that much more of an investment. Looks like Tempest is also putting out a few more gateways just to get ready for his economy. You gotta watch out with these High Templar and not get them sniped by the vultures. Poor play there by Tempest. High Templar are very important, you know, to storm tanks with. Even a few critical storms in conjunction with arbiters can cripple a Terran mech army. So losing a High Templar like that is just quite bad. 2 Stargates too, so he's going to be pumping arbiters. hardcore. Again, Tempest with 2 armies in the middle of the map. One sort of going to the 1 o'clock position to see if there's an expansion there, I guess. He risks getting his forces trapped there, but I guess Tiny has shown himself to be a defensive player. He's got, it looks like he's got 2 defensive points set up, one outside his 3 o'clock base and one outside his natural. It looks like it's probably a heavily mined and sieged up area. Is not going to be able to, Tempest is not going to be able to break through those defenses, I feel, anytime soon. He looks like he might be suiciding some Dragoonsy. He's pulling them back now. So, just based on this play, it seems like Tiny is an extremely cautious player. He wants to just advance very slowly. I think that might be a bit of a mistake here. Ooh, but on the other hand, he's got a lot of turrets to defend against this incoming Arbiter. And if this recall fails, which if it recalls right into the middle of these mines is going to fail, that's not going to be so good. Ooh, lots of mines going off, killing the vast majority of recall. This is not going to do much. The Arbiter goes down. I mean, sure, these units are going to be able to kill a few turrets, but hardly a big deal. On the other hand, Tiny seems to be responding in a... he's overreacting. He seems to bring back a lot of tanks to deal with these 4 Dragoons here. So he doesn't strike me as a particularly aggressive player. Or particularly, how should I say, strategic player, I guess is the word I'm trying to use. He needs to figure out how to use the appropriate amount of forces at the appropriate place. Cleaning up 4 Dragoons does not necessitate recalling a good portion of your tanks. Now he's pushing up with a lot of tanks, but now they don't have Vulture support. And if Tempest chooses... Oh, there are a few Vultures there. Good. So his defense is pretty deep. Tempest looks like he's going in for the attack with Arbiter there. No stasis coming out. It might have been EMP by this Science Vessel. However, there are Zealot bombs from the shuttles coming out. 2 Templar. They might be able to do some storms. Fence Matrix going down. Storm going down. Not the best storm. Not really catching any tanks. But Tempest is succeeding. He's breaking through the tank lines, and the tanks are falling. Tiny still has plenty more defenses in the back, but this push has been completely stopped. And with his failed attack and Tempest's failed drop, these 2 sides might be a bit more even now. I would argue that losing, it looks like maybe 15 or so tanks would be a bigger blow, though, because the army Tempest recalled really wasn't that big, so there was at least that. Looks like Tiny has put down another expansion at the 6 o'clock position. He's lifting it, probably because he... No. Okay, he just didn't put it in the right position. I thought maybe he was going to retreat, which would be weird, considering it's not under threat. Tempest is mining now from, looks like 5 bases, put down yet another expansion at the inside top left position. He might also have expansion. Yeah, he has an expansion at the 1 o'clock position, but he's not going to be able to hold that with these forces that Tiny has sent to deal with it. I think is going to be able to take down the Nexus with no problem. Tempest looks like he's sending a little relief force of Dragoons. Tiny needs to focus and kill that Nexus, because these Dragoons could potentially actually relieve the base if Tiny's not careful and doesn't deal with them. Looks like Tempest marshalling another army in the middle of the map. Not quite sure what he might choose to do with that. Tempest is withdrawing his Dragoons, though. He's giving up control of the 1 o'clock base. It was probably a difficult base to hold anyway, but it's not going to bother Tempest too much. I guess he probably just put that down to see whether he could get away with it. He's got plenty of expansions, and he's got to be maxed, if not, or close to max, if not maxed already, in terms of his army. Excuse me, sorry about that. So it seems like Tiny is still in a defensive posture after his failed push. He's not trying again, he's just sort of stuck in his base. Oh, now he's withdrawn the base at the 6 o'clock position. I don't think Tempest destroyed it. I didn't really see any sort of attack. Quite a few Stargates going down for Tempest. Now he's transitioning to carriers. So this, I think, is a reasonable time to transition to carriers. Another recall coming with arbiters. This time the recall is going to do much better. Few mines, but I don't think it's going to bother Tempest too much. It looks like Tiny is this time choosing to deal with... So this is a big drop. I would bring back a good number of his units to deal with it, but he's pushing out at the same time to the 12 o'clock position. He's probably going to be able to kill that base. Tempest still causing havoc inside Tiny's base. Tempest has got nothing to save his 12 o'clock base. Again, I don't think he'll mind too much losing it. He's still causing havoc, picking away at these factories here. There are 2 tanks in the back. If Tiny can move them up, he could deal with these Dragoons, but he's not choosing to do that. And Tiny is not really being very decisive right now. He's not going for the 12 o'clock. He's just sort of marshalling his army outside the base, not attacking it, and Tempest is bringing his army up to counterattack this force. You know, so this is a big mistake here by Tiny. EMP going off the arbiter. The stasis already went off. Dragoon Zealots coming in. This little attack force here at 12 o'clock is going to get destroyed. Tiny did manage to use this opportunity to clean up his main. But, again, not really decisive. I think he had plenty of time to kill the 12 o'clock base in this game. Tiny's trying to put down expansion at the natural 1 o'clock, but I think Tempest wants to move in and clear that up. Tiny looks like he's got plenty more troops, just not quite sure where they are. He's keeping a lot of them in a defensive posture. Looks like Tempest storming over single tanks, these Templar. Well, I guess he had nothing better to do with the Templar at the time, and looks like, yeah, Tempest is going to be able to clean up this Natro here, or at least force it to lift and kill a lot of the SCVs. He's also going to have carriers out soon. Tiny has 2-3 upgrades, which is good. He's also got some Goliaths building, so he's going to be ready for this type of... There are, like, at least 6 Stargates, possibly more. Not all of them are pumping. Tempest is not able to afford, pumping from all of them, but it looks like... I haven't seen any of his carriers that he built for some reason. He's got a few arbiters around. Ooh, 2 more just got EMP'd. It looks like Tiny's managed to seize control of another expansion in the middle, the top right position. He's mining, it looks like, from 2 bases only, though, whereas Tempest is mining from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases, and he's putting down a 7 base right now. Tiny, with his defensive posture, hasn't really suffered too much in terms of attacks, but he needs to try to seize control of the top right now. Otherwise, he's definitely going to be economically outmatched. And has let Tempest gone off essentially unharassed this entire game. I'm not sure that's wise. Let Protoss do whatever he wants and just engage in the middle of the map. Because Tempest has plenty of experience fighting battles, whereas Tiny, it seems like he's not confident. His command center might burn down if he's not careful, though, and that's why he's sort of stuck in a defensive posture. But that's not the way to winning. Especially if carriers coming out soon. Carriers can pick through the fences, no problem. Oh, carriers in conjunction with ground army. If you put down like 30 turrets in the area, yeah, it'll take a while for the carriers to break through. Ooh, nice recall coming at the 1 o'clock position by Tempest. Storm going off on some vultures. Probably should have stormed vultures, I'm just thinking, because they move so quickly. And it's not really worth storming, they die so quickly anyway. 4 carriers out now for Tempest. The good thing is he's keeping Tiny from taking the 1 o'clock base with that little recall, and his Dragoons might have range over the natural there too. Looks like Tiny is once again going for the 12 o'clock base. Let's see if he can be more decisive this time and actually going for the attack. There are 4 carriers now. They don't really have any interceptors yet, just a few interceptors out. There's 2 Goliaths there. I don't think that's going to bother Tempest very much.